Over the past weekend, a community post on the Jurassic World Evolution subreddit caused a little bit of a stir. On one hand, we are soon going to get a free content patch. On the other, the Giga is doomed to be a tiny baby forever. One other thing mentioned, however, and sort of ignored, was in relation to island sizing. Both from Frontier told us that whilst they can't change the size of Isla Nublar, etc., because it'll cause save file problems apparently, they will take into account our problems with island sizing for potential future islands. So, the chances are, down the line we'll have brand new and hopefully larger islands to build upon. And today I thought we'd speculate about a couple of what those islands could be. That was nearly English. Number one then is one I've already talked about previously, but surely as one of the few canon options available is the most logical choice out of any of these. It's Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom's Sanctuary Island. Now Evolution has already shown its desire to tie in with Fallen Kingdom, be that through the content pack released, the militarized dinosaur aspect to the storyline, or the simple fact it was released to coincide with the film itself. We don't know that much about the Sanctuary Island, unfortunately. Some people have suggested it might not even exist, though I think Lockwood's belief in it puts that idea to bed a little bit. What we do know is that it's meant to be an ideal environment for the dinosaurs to live in, something akin to John Hammond's idea at the end of the Lost World Jurassic Park. A place where your dinosaurs can live without human intervention and without boundaries. A true Site B. Now, one of my main problems with Isla Nublar in Evolution isn't actually the size of the island, it's the fact that you simply can't let your dinosaurs be. You have to intervene in order to keep them alive. The problem with this mainly stems from herbivores being unable to live without feeders, and in turn, those feeders require refilling from ranger station, and in turn, those ranger stations require both paths and power, and you kind of see the problem here. One little thing, the herbivores relying on feeders, kind of spirals into multiple problems, and all this human intervention really kills any true Site B feeling you could ever get. A new Sanctuary Island, one that doesn't require feeders, one large, significantly bigger than Isla Nublar please, open space for your dinosaurs to roam or indeed for you to build a park if that's what you'd like to do, one ringed by blue waters and huge mountains. Yeah, this is a pretty logical and probably not that difficult to implement island, and I hope we get to see it fairly soon. Next up is a more zoo-like park, Jurassic Park San Diego, of course from the Lost World Jurassic Park, and it's the only non-island park we ever actually see in the film franchise at least. And again, we don't really see a lot of this park. Our best look at it comes from brochure maps, from models, dioramas, and a brief drive through the main gates. But it's definitely got a really interesting design. The San Diego park is centered around a huge amphitheatre type area, complete with the classic Jurassic Park entrance gates. Now within that circular region is a raised platform coated in grass and surrounded by a deep moat. It's a sort of display area for your most popular dinosaurs, kind of like the Mosasaurus in Jurassic World. And since there's rows upon rows of seats surrounding that platform, it's a great way for your guests to see the dinosaurs without fences in the way, but also potentially without being eaten alive. It's nice. The park fans from that platform into a larger circle with different segments devoted to different dinosaurs. It's flanked by the bay and has a gorgeous view of the city itself stretching out beyond it. It's absolutely unique in the Jurassic Park franchise and would be an awesome base for an Evolution park as well. Now, whilst with the current limitations in design in Evolution we wouldn't be able to build a one-to-one recreation of the park, there's nothing to say that Frontier couldn't give us potential islands and parks with some permanent structures already built upon them. I'd love a large grassy area in San Diego with that permanent amphitheatre design smack bang in the middle that we can then build around and design our parks around, as well as choosing the main attraction that will live within that amphitheatre. Some people have problems with restrictions like that, permanent buildings and the like. Personally, I think limitations like that, as long as they're not on every island, they actually tend to increase creativity to some extent, but hey, make it deletable if need be. Either way, a park with a view of the San Diego skyline lit up beyond it would make for a really cool change of pace from the somewhat similar islands we have right now, which of course makes sense. Third up, and a way to really bring in the Jurassic Park canon in a cool way, would be Jurassic Park Europe and Jurassic Park Japan. Now these are briefly mentioned in the first novel, and actually Jurassic Park Europe is so briefly advertised in the first Jurassic Park film. Now, Jurassic Park Europe was going to be built on the Azores Islands, which are near Portugal, and the latter, Jurassic Park Japan, was going to be built on an island near Guam. Of course, Hammond's dream of Jurassic Park as this big, globe-trotting franchise never really came to fruition in the franchise on account of all the dead humans ruining everything, as always. But he did at least give us 2 more canon established future islands for Jurassic World Evolution. I think there might have been a 3rd that's slipping my mind actually. At the very least, moving away from the Costa Rican islands would give the game an opportunity to introduce some new foliage. The Azores, for example. Despite being green, beautiful islands, they're actually windswept and fairly moderate in temperature, a far cry from the permanent tropical nature of the 5 Deaths and Isla Nublar. A shift in location to these islands not only introduces fans to an aspect of Jurassic Park lore they may not be aware of, but it lets Frontier stretch their creativity a little bit. These islands are not that established, be that in wildlife, formation, weather or otherwise. It would be up to them, a way to mash their own skill and creativity with established canon, which is a fairly rare opportunity for the franchise. Now maybe I'm only advocating for them because I think the game desperately does need some variety in foliage, trees, bushes, the lot, and even some small hints of wildlife native to those areas would make them a little bit more unique. You could even localize the parks a little bit. Jurassic Park Japan, for example, could have kanji lettering on its welcome gates and flags, and just some other small nods like that to the locality. Now whilst that's about it for established canon park ideas, there's not much else left out there to mine, that's no reason to stop there. One of the common complaints with Jurassic World Evolution's terrain tools is simply the lack of variety. You can edit the landscape a little bit, you can put down some slightly bigger plants, or you can put down trees. And that's about it. There's no sand or slate or snow or gravel or dirt or bushes or pretty much anything really, and it's a shame how limited it is considering games from well over a decade ago had many more options. But hey, I imagine, or at least I hope, it's something that we see change down the line, and how better to announce that change than with a new island. Let's say they add a sand brush to the game, similar to what we actually saw in one of the earlier trailers for the game. And then to coincide with the release of that new brush, we get a new island or park base on a small tropical island ringed by pristine beaches. The central island could still use the same terrain they do now, but letting us build down to the edge of the water would not only make up a little for the disappointment of that untapped stretch of beach on Isla Muerta, but it introduced the sand tool in a fairly natural way. Now you can make beaches and sandy rivers and deserts. You can build a proper environment for your more water-loving dinosaurs like the Suchomimus or Baryonyx. You can recreate the star of Jurassic Park 3. Just the addition of a sand and dirt brush would actually make an astronomical difference to the creativity and uniqueness of our parks. Finally, as a little bonus, I hope they really consider revisiting Isla Nublar. Whilst the current islands, Isla Nublar, Isla Sorna, etc. aren't going to increase in size and are liable to never change in shape, it's a shame that the current Isla Nublar basically isn't Isla Nublar. It's a decent size-ish, and of course it's got Mount Sibo in the background, but the basic shape is nothing like the Isla Nublar from the film because we're not building on the whole island, we're building on a small slice of it. Now this isn't much of a problem for say Isla Muerta because we don't know Isla Muerta well, but Isla Nublar has such a defined shape that I imagine a lot of you at home could draw a rough version of it purely for memory. Now, I accept that if they kept the size scale from the current Isla Nublar, it'd be very difficult to find the memory, the computational power to handle such a park. But a smaller version, even without Mount Sibo, a version that lets us really recreate the original Jurassic Park from 1993 would be greatly appreciated. You could even keep the mountainous volcanic regions to the north and just let us build on the southern reaches of the island where the main park was. I know for a fact that so many people at Frontier are huge fans of Jurassic Park as a franchise and are aware that whilst the franchise is Jurassic World now, it's not Jurassic Park, but these throwbacks to the original films and novel are what a lot of us really crave, and I think as players they probably would as well. It's tough, if not impossible right now, to build anything really that similar to the original Jurassic Park, and in all honesty, that's a damn shame. Anyway, there we go folks, 5 ideas for future parks and islands. I'd love to see whole islands we can make our own, new terrain tools and yes, permanent structures and stuff we need to actively build around. One of the reasons I was excited about Isla Sorna ahead of release, before we'd seen it, was because I thought it may contain the ruined remnants of the communication centre, etc. Unfortunately, we got none of that, but it's never too late. There's hope for future islands that not only be bigger, but have just a little bit more personality than the ones we have now. What would you like to see? Is there a location or a hypothetical Jurassic Park you'd like to recreate yourselves? Let me know in the comments down below and I'll see you lovely folks next time. Folks? folks. Remember to tap that little like button if you enjoyed the video. It really does help me out. I promise it's a big deal. Cheers, much love, and as always, bye-bye. Quick little shout out at the end. This video and others like it would not be possible at all without the support of you guys watching me at home, and also everyone on this Patreon page right here who supported me in the last month. If you want to help out as well, you can do so at patreon.com/bestinslot. Every little really helps. Cheers.